Teleconference on the call today. Welcome to the conference. Get your thoughts on your spring practice, your spring game, and maybe look at how you shape up for the 2017 season, please.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Finished spring last Saturday. Had a full quarter spring game. Played 12 minutes running time. We had obviously some number issues in terms of the attrition in the last 2 years. So the spring game itself, we got our starters out early, and the guys are back into off-season workouts. But had a good spring. It was very important from a staff standpoint that we focused on how we want to practice and how we want to do things more so than what we're doing. We all get caught up as coaches in terms of the scheme and the techniques, and what we really wanted to do is just instill a culture and an environment of how we practice, the intensity level we bring, the focus we bring, and was pleased with the new staff, implementing the environment at practice, the environment in meetings, and how we go about our off-season workout. So looking forward to it. We got 8 returning on offense and 6 returning on defense. And, we have some holes to fill with a young secondary, losing Howard Wilson and Brandon Wilson in the back end, and then losing 3 critical guys in 15. So there's a lot of youth back there, but there was some development, some good things that we saw. And then offensively, trying to replace a guy who's as productive on every down as Greg Ward was. So trying to find things in our run game and obviously having to throw the ball more with what style of quarterbacks we have on our roster.
Take questions for Coach Applewhite, please. *1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. The operator will introduce you.
And we'll hear from Dan Tortora with WakeUpCallDT.com.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. As far as what stays with you from your time with Tom Herman, just what you can say you kind of take with you as you move forward from working with him.
Tom has such a passion for what he does. There was, very detail oriented, in what he brought. I thought that, just the attention to details, his just genuine passion for football, the ability to have tremendous focus, but also have fun. It's still a game. It's still 18 to 22-year-olds. We've got to have fun. We've got to find our spots for it. So we would talk about, bringing it out, bringing it back in, and bringing it out, bringing it back in. And I think that's vital. There's a lot of pressure in these jobs, but we've got to understand our players and these student athletes from the standpoint there's a lot going on their plate, away from home, a lot of different things. So it's got to be fun. But at times there's times to kind of drop the fun and let's focus and let's compete. Just the culture, the environment of accountability from a position coach's standpoint, him being in charge of his unit leaders being in charge of their unit in terms of players who played a lot or have developed, put themselves in a leadership role, the accountability throughout the building. Those are things that I've taken from Tom.
And you've spoken on, obviously moving forward past Greg Ward Jr., just what you can say about the quarterback situation, what you're taking away from that room, and what you can say about some leadership that's maybe emerged out of there.
Right. So we've got 3 quarterbacks who played in the college game. In terms of Kyle Allen playing at A&M, Kyle Postman was starting the game here and playing others. De'Aaron King got some backup time in a few games last year. The unfortunate thing is 2 of those guys could not practice full 11-on-11 drills. They could go through Pascal, 7-on-7 stuff, and individual drills. But Kyle got all the reps in the spring. So going into fall camp, it's important to me, having been in that situation as a player, they get an opportunity to compete for that spot. But they all know that we're going to have to make a decision somewhere fairly soon in camp and have a starter and get ready for the season. But feel very confident in those 3 guys. All of them have different personalities, but all have leadership qualities. They take the position very seriously. They understand the type of competitive nature you have to bring as a quarterback and how that bleeds throughout your offense. And, you have to spread that culture of the ultimate competitor, the leadership qualities you need, the day-to-day, intensity you need, and then the fellowship. You have to be able to get in there with your linemen and your wide receivers and your running backs, and then you have to get across the ball too. You're gonna get a lot of credit, and we all know this, but you're gonna get a lot of credit that you don't deserve. You're gonna get a lot of blame that you don't deserve. But it's very important that you reach across the side of the ball to the defensive side, special teams player, and you become a complete locker room guy.
Thanks, Major. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And next we'll move to Joseph Duarte with Houston Chronicle.
Sure. Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Good, good. Hey, I was wondering, what did you notice or see just with, you mentioned the coaching staff, just on the defensive side with Coach Deanna Frio and how things went this spring with him now in charge of the defense?
Very detail-oriented. The first thing from a head coach's standpoint is, you have a strategy as a staff, and we all want to be aligned in it. And when you sit in defensive meetings or you sit in linebacker meetings or you go out on the practice field, it's a very strong, confident feeling that you get when things go from the staff room and they're said the same way to assistant coaches, they're said the same way to players. You know that the message is singular, and that's the one thing as a head coach you feel very good about. The intensity at practice, coming off the sideline, finishing to the football. Those are things that are not that kind of go by the wayside. They're highly scrutinized and critiqued every day. That's the one thing, defensively you're not always going to be perfect, and there's times where you're going to have to trust running to the football to save you, no matter what your scheme is. You got to make sure that you've got a relentless effort to the ball, and those are the biggest things that he taught was the attention to detail in terms of just how we want to practice, how we want to pursue the football. Can we be aligned a little bit better in the coverages? Can we be better with our hands up front? Can we recognize things quicker in the linebacker position? Absolutely. We can get better at those techniques and the actual things that happen in terms of playing the game. But it made me feel good to understand he's taking this message to his defensive staff, his defensive players, and the players are responding to it. So that makes you feel really good. And then the aspect that he understands what the number one priority is. We're not going to always be perfect. We're not going to play error-free football every single down. So what has to make up for that is the relentless effort to the ball, the attitude, the mentality that we're all going to run the football. And I was very pleased to see that, and I was very pleased to see, the other guys on the defensive staff, work in conjunction with him and demand that, and demand that of the players. And we've got some guys, we got 6 guys coming back on defense, so it was good to see some of those 6 returning starters reemphasize the message from the head coach to the defensive coordinator, from the defensive coordinator to the players, and the players, we talk about don't be the culture, spread the culture. That's what true buy-in is. And so we had some guys who played some downs on the defensive side of the ball, spread the culture. But that's always something that's ongoing, and we'll continue to coach that throughout the end of this semester and throughout the summer and obviously into fall camp, but very pleased from that standpoint.
Major, lastly, have you been given any update on the practice facility in terms of when you'll be able to start utilizing it, or if it will be there for you when camp starts in August?
Yes, September 1st is the official date, and we're on schedule to do that. There may be some opportunities to get in there before that. So they've talked about possibly even being able to get in there August 1st, but right now, September 1st is the date, and we're still on track.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
And next we'll move to Shannon Green with Orlando Sentinel.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Shannon?
I'm doing good. Baker, I wanted to know, are there any specific culture changes that you'd like to make at Houston to leave your footprint, or is it more so a continuation of the culture that's already been established?
I think there's things, yes and no. Everybody's got different ways to say the same thing. All coaches believe that it's important to be tough. All coaches believe that it's important to have a great attitude and great effort. To me, those are just timeless principles of football. Ball security, third down conversions, red zone defense, red zone scoring. All those things, every single coach knows that those things matter. I think there's some personalities that are different. We get different personalities on our staff from last year, and Tom and I are 2 different people, but we believe in the same thing. It may be said a different way, and I think that's where the players will this summer. Once you're in such a rush from recruiting and signing day to 4 weeks of off season to right into spring ball. And I think where you'll really see the stamp, so to speak, I think that's what you're getting at. Where's the difference? What mark are you putting on the program? I think you'll see that throughout this next month of May, June, and July before we enter fall camp. And because there are some different things, but there are also things that I believe work well. And I'm not I'm of the opinion I don't want to put my signature on things if it doesn't need to be there. If there are things that are in place and they're working and the kids buy into it and they believe in it and we believe in it as a staff, then I don't feel my need to put a signature on it and change things just so it can be mine. I think there's certain things in our program in terms of how we monitor academics, how we hydrate our players that I'm convinced that that's the way you should do it. So I'm not going to change those things. Are there some things practice-wise and what we're doing on the actual grass and how we want to make our practices flow better and things like that? Yeah, there's some things that we've, changed in terms of just, how we want to practice and what fields we're using and what drills we're doing at what certain portions of practice. There's a few changes. But that's kind of been the mindset this spring is let's get through recruiting. Let's get through the off season. Let's get through the spring. And that's a really good opportunity to kind of see where your staff is and who your staff is because you've seen them recruit. You've seen them be with the student athletes during off-season workouts, and you've seen them coach and make adjustments and learn and get better from practice to practice. So it's a little microcosm of a season. You've seen all the phases of your program. And I think this is where these next 3 months, after identifying the staff and seeing them work in all those quarters and all those different areas, this is where we'll be able to come back in May and establish ourselves as a staff. Everybody kind of knows everybody now. They've been through all these portions, and that's where you'll start seeing the staff's personality and us as a program going forward.
Speaking of recruiting, with early signing periods becoming more of a reality, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like it's more so of a pro, or do you see certain challenges coming up with that?
There's pros and cons to it. I think there's a benefit to it. I think recruiting goes too long. It lasts too long. There's a lot of things that happen to programs and to prospects. When everybody has the same signing day and if there's one signing day, I think some of those things in terms of programs getting left high and dry on signing day with kids decommitting at the last minute and signing somewhere else, I think with an early signing day that can alleviate some of that. With prospects getting scholarships pulled from them and an early signing day, I think there's some things with an early signing day, those things can be alleviated as well. So I think it's overall help. We all know that the signing day has been the same signing day that's been around forever, but the recruiting has changed. Everything has moved up a year or 2 years now in terms of when we're offering players and when these guys are actually coming by the school on recruiting visits. It used to be that you'd come by during the spring of your junior year and the summer of your year and then sign in February, and now you've got guys that are offered after their sophomore year trying to make decisions on where they want to go to school sometimes before they even play their junior year of high school. So the calendar's been antiquated, and now it's time to move it up, and I think this is a positive for college football. It's new. Not a lot of us know how to wrap our arms around it yet. We haven't seen all the pitfalls and all the pluses. But I think we all kind of know in the back of our minds this is something that has needed to happen for a while, and it's going to be a positive in the end.
And my last question, you were on the staff last year, so I think you're probably a little bit more familiar with Shaquem Griffin, who was the Defensive Player of the Year at UCF, the linebacker. I was just wanting to get your thoughts on him and what you thought his play was like last season and what you're kind of expecting this year in terms of how to stop him.
Are you talking about Wiggins?
Shaquem Griffin, the
Griffin,
UCF
I'm sorry,
linebacker.
number 18?
Yes.
Unreal motor. Unreal. Relentless. Obviously I didn't enjoy watching him make plays against us, but you have to respect a guy that goes that hard and practices that hard. I'm sure he practices that hard. There's no way you play that hard unless you train that way. But a relentless guy. Obviously he's had, physical obstacles he's had to overcome, but, he's just a testament to a lot of us out there. Whether we work normal jobs or not, doesn't matter, what you're given, you can control your attitude. And you can tell his attitude is positive. He's relentless in what he does. There's very few weaknesses to his game, and he plays really hard. And from a coach from afar and having played against him last year, you just have nothing but respect for a player like that.
Thanks, Major.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Coach, thanks for giving us a few minutes this morning. Enjoy the off season. Look forward to connecting again with you in the summer.
Thank you.